Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right, this is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 167. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benesowitz, and the New York Knicks losers last night, 107-90. Their series is now tied 1-1 with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Series shifting back to New York, or starting in New York, no, going to New York, I should say. While the Brooklyn Nets come home for a game Thursday, they trail the series 2-0 versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Before we break down all the action from last night's Knicks-Cavs game and then get into the Nets 76ers series, do want to mention to all our great fans listening, the Bad Weather Fans Twitter page officially up. Follow it at Bad Weather Fans. Of course, I'm at Mike Delivers Pod. We've got at Knicks Central here as well. Alex, blowout. Cavs 107-90, punch in the face. Cleveland said they were going to be a little tougher. Cleveland said they weren't going to be bullied. And Cleveland took no bullshit. They get the win. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I wasn't expecting the Knicks to win last night or in game two, because usually when you're the road team and you win game one, game two, you lose. I wasn't expecting them to lose by 170 points, but you know what? They lost, and it happens. And it was frustrating because after the first quarter, it was pretty much over. Second quarter, the Cavs punched them back, and it was just a wrap. In the first quarter, it felt like game one. They were back and forth, playing physical. Knicks were getting in their face. It was looking good. And then, bam, three-pointer to end the first, and then the Cavs never looked back. So it was a little crazy, and we'll get into it, I'm sure. But, I just wanted what you thought about game one, and then going to game two, the Knicks fan reaction after game one, where we're going to sweep. I was just like, everybody calm down. It's one game. You're reacting. If you win game two, then we can bring out the brooms and we can talk. But right now, after one game, you need to relax. So what did you think as an outsider with that?
Well, the funny part to me isn't as much that, because that I understand, because I've always said this from doing this podcast. The Knicks fan is irrational in their behavior. So I've always said that. And I'm not going to be shocked by any of this. What bothers me isn't the comments like, oh, we're going to the finals. Oh, we're sweeping. It's then after a loss going hey, it's just one game. We're going back to the Garden now. This is what happens.
Right. You don't get to play the rational card now.
Right. It's very hypocritical. And to me, that's where I get a little annoyed, because I get it. If you're a fan, you're excited after one game, but then you can't take it back on the other side. Oh, we got our split. And see, to me, that's the bigger issue with what I had from Randle and post-game stuff too, is, hey, we came here to do what we had to do. And I'm a big proponent of you get wins that you need to get. Now, they're right. They went into Cleveland and stole a game, but that's why they lost. They went into game two with the mindset that they had one to lose. And it was obvious, right? Early on, Cleveland came out, they punched them in the mouth, and they never responded. They got a couple calls that went their way, never responded. And guys stepped up. Cleveland made the adjustments. They put in shooters, and Karis LeVert exploded. I mean, he was a huge difference maker for the Cavs. He was nowhere to be seen in game one. Game two, he came out, and he was a difference maker for Cleveland, who hit shots. Jared Allen and Mobley, they took it personal, I think, what happened in game one, and they were difference makers, man. And I would say this to the Knicks fans too. I don't think what happened in game two dictates what will happen in game three. True points. You are going back to the Garden. It's going to be a great atmosphere for the Knicks. I would expect the Knicks to play well in game three. If you look in series histories past, look at best of sevens, best of six, teams that have won or lost. There's been blowouts. This stuff happens. It doesn't just like I would say after game one, because the Knicks won by 4, it means it's a sweep. I would say after game two, when the Cavs beat the crap out of the Knicks, it doesn't mean that game three is a Cavs win. The highs and lows, it's so predictable.
Yeah, it's true. And excuse me. It's It wasn't even like game one was a blowout in the Knicks' favor and they killed the Cavs, and the Cavs didn't look like they belonged on the same floor. The Cavs took the lead late fourth.
Yeah.
It was like, and then it took some great shots like Josh Hart being clutch and all these, these things going the Knicks' way, the big offensive rebound at the end by Julius Randle, all these things going the Knicks' way for them to win the game. It wasn't like they stomped them out. So that the excitement I understood, but the sweep proclamations, and then Giannis gets hurt. You're like, we can go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm like, can we get to game 2? And I'm not just saying this because they lost game 2. If you follow me on Twitter at Knicks Central, I was like, everybody like, relax, take it down a notch. I'm excited too. I was annoyed by the Cavs fans and the Cavs media crying about the physicality and crying about the calls. And I always say this, even when Knicks fans do it, losers cry about the whistle. It always happens. That's who cares about the whistle is the person that lost. And then if we get to the end of this game of game 2, the Knicks are down by 120 points, like at least 20, 30 points, right? Let's not exaggerate. And 4 or 5 minutes left, and Thibs has the starters in the game. Like, what the
Got the
fuck,
29.
dude? Yeah, like there was, and then, so if game 1 goes the way it goes and the Knicks are really physical, Jared Allen and a bunch of other players are saying, we're not going to let them push us around. They're really physical with us. We're going to respond. They didn't say those words, but that was the gist of everybody's comments, right? So late in a blowout in a series, teams are going to keep playing hard. They're not going to just give up because you want to set the tone for the rest of the series one way or another. If you're losing, you're like, I'm not going to lay over and die. And if you're winning, you're like, I'm going to stomp you out and kill you. So that keeps happening. That's why you have to get the starters out of the game if you're Thibs, especially somebody like Julius Randle, who's coming off an injury. This is your starting power forward, your all-star. And, I might not be a big fan of him, but why the hell is he in the game? So he has a breakaway dunk, and Jared Allen, I don't think he was trying to hurt him, but he in his mind, he's like, I'm going to give full max effort on this play and not give up on this play. And then what happens? He collides with Randle. Randle takes an awkward fall, lands on his backside, and he is in a lot of pain. And he shoots his free throw. It's a flagrant foul, and then he's gone. And there was 2 minutes left in the game, and they're down 20 points or so. Why the hell are these guys in the game? And it's not an after the fact thing either. I was tweeting it out at the time, and so was every Knicks fan. It's not just me saying, and fans that I was texting, my buddies Randle and Matt, everybody's being like, why are these guys in the game? You know what I mean? And it's just, it didn't make any sense. My guy Scott that I was watching the game with, it's just like, why get these guys out of the game? And then all of a sudden there's an injury. And just like that, this is playoff Thibs again, where it's just, he does it, he gets in his own head. And it's just, yeah, he said, what were the comments after the game that Thibs said that Randle wanted to stay in the game? Or
I have it ready.
Exactly?
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau said he was going to sub Randle out a few possessions earlier, but Randle had asked to stay in to get more rhythm.
It was ridiculous. At that point, you pull him out of the game. You know what I mean? You say, I'm the coach. You're the player. You're sitting down if that's true. Don't blame Randle that he wanted to stay in the game. You're the fucking coach. Get him out of the game.
It's absurd. I like the idea of I like the idea of a player and coach having a good relationship where they can, talk to each other and do what's best for the team.
Right.
With that said, there's always been this mindset that Julius Randle is the only player that gets preferential treatment. So you see that and you think, well, if that was RJ Barrett, if that was Immanuel Quickley, would the same rules apply? And the answer is no. So that's the part that would annoy me. And then also, just from a pure standpoint, if you're down 29 points, it's common sense. And to get a rhythm, I'm not an NBA player, but is the 2 minutes of Randle getting a rhythm in Cleveland down 29 going to make a huge impact on his performance in game 3? That to me is where I would say I'd rather take the cost of getting hurt. To me, seems like a bigger risk reward than getting a few minutes to play so Randle can figure out his rhythm issues. That is silly. And Jared Allen is going hard. He's playing. He's there. That's the problem. You can't get mad at Jared Allen for having a hard basketball foul. It's in the scheme of the game, Sorry. That's just
he's not that type of player either. He wasn't trying to hurt Randle.
He's
he was
the nicest dude in the world. No, he's definitely not.
Yeah, he was trying, and you could see the play. He was trying to be aggressive, and he was probably trying to be aggressive because of what I was saying, how you're trying to set the tone the rest of the series. We're not giving up. We're not allowing you to just dunk it on us, even if you're down 20 in a blowout. This is a series, and I'm not going to let you have any easy baskets. And that's what he's thinking. That's why he's diving at Randle on a dunk. He's not trying to hurt him. And that's the risk you take of keeping these guys in the game. And that's the problem. And that's playoff Thibs again. This is playoff Thibs 2 years ago. It might not be as dramatic like 2 years ago when he pulls Alfred Payton out of the lineup. He doesn't sit him down the whole season. Something always happens with Thibs. And it's just, it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, you come out game 3, you win game 3, everything's fine. But like you were saying, just because Randle wants some rhythm, the next game is not till Friday night at 8:30 p.m. So 8:45 p.m. So you legitimately have 72 hours until the next game.
Huge chunk.
What 2 minutes of rhythm is not going to do anything because you're going to be sitting for 3 days. So it just doesn't make any sense at all. So it is what it is. And can I ask you a question about the Nets? Who can I guess a player that you hate on the Sixers, like a random player that you hate on the Sixers?
A random from this series in particular.
From this series in particular.
Well, I mean, it's been the guy that has just. I mean, there's.
It's random. It's random. I really.
Well, I mean, right now it's been Maxey. He just destroyed.
A random player. I'm gonna go Paul Reed. I feel like you hate. Paul
He's been
Reed.
really good.
Yeah,
he's done a nice job off the bench. He's been. He's been solid. That net game 2 was strange because Nets defensively are doing everything that they can. They're holding the Sixers under 100 points. Say what you want about Harden and Embiid, but they combined for 28 points in game 2. I mean, that's really good. Maxey crushed him. I think he had 31 points. Problem with the Nets right now is they can't score the basketball and they can't shoot well at all. And the guy that's just been really bad, who's just been a disaster for the Nets, is Spencer Dinwiddie. Yeah. I said this before the series started. I said they need the good Spencer. He hasn't been the bad Spencer. He's been out of the NBA Spencer. He looks hesitant. He looks scared. He doesn't have the aggression. He's not making the right reads. And he has been putrid for the Nets, who go into game 3 Thursday night versus the Sixers in Brooklyn, and they have to win. And I was, I went to game 1 in Philly, and I can talk about that for a bit. Those fans could not have been nicer. Game 2, Nets had a 5-point lead going into the half, that second half, and we talked about it. You're right. I'm not going to blame the officials, but there was anytime somebody says I'm not going to blame the officials, but I'll blame the officials on this one play, and it was a killer momentum swing. Hey, but if you're great, you overcome this stuff, and the Nets couldn't. They were down 2 with like 8 minutes left, and there was a shot clock violation, and they didn't call it. And all of the Nets just stopped because they were like, it was that obvious and waiting for it. The Sixers get the rebound, get it out to Harden, hits a 3. It was 5, and the game was toast. It was like the momentum killed them. And that play, especially Mikal Bridges, just stopped. Was a crusher. But again,
play to the whistle, though. Play to the whistle.
Play to the whistle. You're right. It was a weird one, though. It was so glaring, and it fucking killed the Nets that game. But yeah, they go back to Brooklyn down 2-0, and got to get this one, or this thing is beyond over, and it's a short series. We'll see how the Nets respond in game 3. We'll see if Cam Thomas gets some run.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's over. I mean, in my opinion, it's over. If you put a fork in the Nets, it's over. I thought they were going to get swept to begin with. I picked it on the show, but you know what? It is what it is. They're just not. It's not even a knock on the Nets. They're just not on the same talent level as the Sixers, and you can see it's glaring. Claxton has been getting beat, and then they put like DFS on Embiid, and they're just trying anything.
I'll say,
but he's been playing well, so it's been okay.
I've been so impressed with Royce O'Neal. He didn't shoot well in game 2. I think he was 2 for 8 from 3.
Yeah,
but he in the third quarter is guarding Joel Embiid and doing a really good job, bodying him up, making it difficult for him. Then the fourth quarter starts, and he's guarding Harden on the perimeter. Like that versatility and that kind of grit that you see there shows me too why if you had Royce O'Neal with superstar players in a playoff spot, he's a guy you want on your team in big. Like you could just see he was giving everything he had with a Nets team that doesn't have as much talent. You could just see how valuable Royce is on a contender. And you know who his best friend is, Alex?
Donovan Mitchell,
who only had 11 shots in this game, but was distributing the ball well. And I got a
Garland
text.
Went off.
Garland went off. He was not missing from 3. I did get a text from somebody yesterday, kind of putting down RJ Barrett and Karis LeVert in the same category. They're volume shooters. They can't score. First off, Barrett's been bad.
He has been.
He's been really bad. And then second off, I saw that text and I didn't respond, but I went, man, be careful, because Karis LeVert came back and he is he is streaky, but when he can get going, Levert can play. The problem is he just doesn't do it. He just can't be consistent with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you could see, that difference from Bickerstaff bringing him in and changing the way they schemed around the bigs was a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about the game two. It just it just happens, and I don't know. Game one looked great. Julius Randle came out of we didn't think he was going to play. The Mike Breen thing, saying he might not play game one, but he'll be active in the series. And he played really well. And then at the end of the game, he becomes the old Randle, and he's getting angry, and he's almost gets a tech, and it's just like, what are you doing? And then game two, he's the old bad Randle in the playoffs, and he's throwing the ball around, and the whole team just got punched in the mouth. It wasn't just on Randle. It was just a tough, you split the series, and we're coming home, and let's see what happens, And that's not, I'm not one of those Knicks fans that you're talking to or talking about that went crazy. You see like the BTs of the world saying, we're going to sweep. Like, come on, like, relax. Like, relax. Like I said, we didn't blow them out game one. You almost lost game one. It's just one of those situations like you could find the casual Knicks fan or the homer Knicks fan very, very, very easily. You have to keep it cool. This was always going 7 this series, and it's just everything gets blown out of proportion in the playoffs. It gets out of control, especially, and bring it back to the Nets and James Harden. The biggest knock on James Harden has been his selfishness. He dominates the ball. He doesn't show up in the playoffs. Now he's playing winning basketball. He's sacrificing himself. And everybody's saying he's done and he's not the second best player on the team anymore. And this, and that might be true, but you can't have it both ways. You can't be like Harden can't show up in the playoffs and always wants his points. And then when he does the opposite, you then kill him for not being good enough. You got to pick a lane and stick in it. And it's just, this is the world we live in the sports media and the takes and the whatever. It's annoying.
I thought Harden in game one for the Sixers was amazing. And I say this with pure disdain for James Harden leaving the Nets, of course. But the way he controlled the ball, the way he got the Sixers open shots was brilliant in that game one. Game two, not as much. He was not very good in game two. But to your point about the Sixers, they have so many other guys that they can afford. If he's not playing great, you get 31 from Tyrese Maxey, and you can kind of make up for that. And that's been a huge difference maker. I will say, man, it is, as Leon the cat jumps in front of me,
ass in your face. Yeah.
Like nothing like your cat's ass in your face in the morning. I will say, Joel Embiid, he's great, but man, like he is. You when you play against him, especially in a playoff spot, you quickly get tired of him fast for all his antics. I've tweeted out this video. Check it out on Mike Delivers Pod, where he's taking this phantom flop. Royce O'Neal's battling with him, and Embiid, like, it looks like he doesn't even get hit, but he goes back like 8 feet, and it's just all of it is frustrating because he is a trash talker, but then at the same time, he's kind of a baby. Like in game one, when he went up for a dunk and missed it, he was hoping for a flagrant, so he like looks up to see if he gets the call, doesn't get nothing, it doesn't go in, and he kind of goes back down and fakes being hurt. You can just tell he's just kind of a baby in so many ways, and you see it there. It's annoying. It's just so annoying of all the trash talking, and that's why it was so awesome. When this was like the highlight for the Nets so far in the playoffs, the Cam Johnson dunk on him was ridiculous. Where he posterized him, and he kind of cowered back, and that's what you need to do to Embiid because he's so talented, he's so gifted, he's so good. You can't be afraid of him, and you can't be scared of him. Now, with the same time, to the same moment, I'm probably talking about for teams like the Celtics or the Bucks or whatnot, who are going to play him in an ECF or whatnot, or Celtics, Celtics Sixers next round is going to be awesome. That's going to be a great second round matchup, but you can't be scared of him. And if I was breaking it down with the Celtics, guys like Al Horford probably don't give a shit, can go up and battle Embiid, at least do their best.
Yeah, they're going to try to get in his head just the same way that they, every team gets in someone's head. Like someone's trying to get in Julius Randle's head, and that's what they're going to do. And, now Randle has a hurt ankle and he's got a broken ass, so we'll see what happens. It's going to be a couple days. The Knicks are going to play the injury game like they did the first 2 games with Randle and said he's hurt, he might not play, and then he plays. And then Josh Hart, he's hurt, he might not play, and then he plays.
Right.
So it's getting a little old, but the Cavs are going to prepare like the Knicks are at full strength, and you'll see what happens. It's a series, and you're going to play gamesmanship no matter what. And the Cavs, we're taking the officials route to try to get calls after game 1 and saying, hey, they were bullying us around and too aggressive, and they were getting calls. There was that one famous play now of Randle, bitching Mobley and like throwing him to the side, with his hip, and it's just like get in the gym, and it's just. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and that's great. But the guys that need to show up are Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, and RJ Barrett need to show up. And they need scoring from them. I don't want to see Quentin Grimes, with 2 points on 3 shots. Yeah, he's a defensive guy, but they need at least 10 points, 10 to 12 points from him. They need RJ Barrett to give us the 15 to 20 points. You need Emmanuel Quickley to come off the bench. And if he's not going to have his 30-point night, he needs to give us 10. He can't be nothing. All of these guys have given us nothing. Quentin Grimes is out there doing cardio, and people are like, oh, he's playing defense well on Donovan Mitchell in game 1. He dropped 38. It's just at this point, this is when we need these guys. This is the point of these guys on the team. This is why everybody was okay with not dealing players for Donovan Mitchell, was because of these guys. And you need to play. They need to step up here. I don't give a shit about the regular season. This is the time. RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, Quentin Grimes, I'm calling you out. You 3. Time to step up, grab the balls, and get in there and ball. And let's go. It's game 3. It's at the Garden, 8:30 Friday night. Let's go. It's time, because this is what people will remember. Nobody will remember your triple-double in Orlando. Nobody will remember you dropping 30 against, the Clippers or whatever. I'm making things up. But get in there and play. People remember Julius Randle against the Hawks 2 years ago. That's all they talk about for the last 3 years. People are going to remember this. And your guys, you 3, Quickley, Grimes, and Barrett, you're getting to that point where people are going to remember, like, oh, man, you guys aren't shit. We need to trade you. And people are already saying that about RJ Barrett.
Yeah. And
they're going to say that about Grimes and Quickley if you guys don't step up.
I think it's a foregone conclusion that RJ Barrett's not on this team next year.
Ooh.
I really think they're going to deal him. I don't want to get too far. Actually, I do. I kind of want to get ahead, but I don't think he's with this team for long. I mean, we know Randle's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Jalen Brunson obviously is the foundation of the team, who was 1 for 8 from 3 and didn't have his best game. I don't know. I don't see him as part of this Knicks future. I think he's done.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know, because remember, they just paid him. They didn't want to trade him. And, we got to see what's available in the offseason. And, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, like you said, but RJ needs to step up. And he's been getting shitted on a little too much by people who are casual fans who don't watch during the regular season. And now they're watching the playoffs like, oh, my God, this guy sucks. And in game 1, he looked awful. In game 2, he didn't look good either. But game 1, he had that one breakaway where he's, Donovan Mitchell's backpedaling, and it was obvious the move. He was going to do this soft ass layup with the left, and Donovan Mitchell was waiting for it and just stripped him. It's just a bad look. You need him to step up. We need something out of him. And I'm saying we as the Knicks need something out of him in these next 2 games at the Garden. And I don't know if they're just going to trade him just to trade. I don't want to do that. This is what the old Knicks would do. People always say what the old Knicks would do, like Isaiah Thomas, the Dolan Knicks. Obviously Dolan's still here. But the old Knicks would trade a draft pick just to trade them. Channing Frye traded him just to trade him. Then all of a sudden you need a big man that can shoot. Oh, well, we had one. You'd trade guys like Camby and Nene on draft day. Oh, man, I wish we had a big. I know you got McDice, but come on, you traded 2 for 1. And then, you got, there's all these types of players. Shumpert you trade, and, oh, man, I wish we had a perimeter defender. Well, you had one. It's just because RJ Barrett is not a superstar, it doesn't mean you need to trade him just to trade him. If you can get a big deal, a big package for something big, fine. But otherwise, let's just run it back and see what other players you can add to the team. And I wouldn't just trade him just to trade him. If you can trade him and fill a void and with another player or some picks and then get a real legit superstar in here, then obviously you have that conversation. I
think trading him would make the team better. I think you trade him, you make the team better. And if you bring in somebody that works better in the fit, it does. I really believe that. I mean,
what type of player? What type of player?
I think you need somebody that can spread like a 3-and-D small forward that can shoot threes, can play defense, and can do those components. Because RJ Barrett's so inconsistent. I think, and this is a credit to the Knicks, that they are really good. That kind of player takes them over the top. Like someone more in that similar mold completes this roster differently. I don't know I'm not thinking of the guy off the top of my head, but if you have, for example, somebody like Josh Hart that's more consistent, that's more of a starting role, and you can make that kind of deal, and he can get in that lineup, and you can add someone that can spread the floor and shoot threes for them. Here, I'll give you who I think would be the perfect fit for the Knicks, but they're not getting him. But it's Cam Johnson of the Nets. Like that guy on the Knicks would be unbelievable. Plays defense, shoot threes, can get to the basket a little bit. Like that to me, if you could make that kind of swap and the Nets wouldn't do that, to me is the player. If you can get that kind of mold of guy, it makes a world of a difference for the Knicks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it would. I was thinking more along the lines of somebody like Paul George, obviously, because it's a different. Like I'm just thinking like somebody, who, because Channing Frye, when he was on the podcast, he said, he keeps looping in my mind where he's like, the Knicks are going to get somebody that's franchise changing this offseason. It's killing me. And I'm just trying to think of who he's thinking of, because he lives in Portland. Dame is the obvious one, but Dame doesn't really match with this team right now.
It does with the Nets.
He does with the Nets, yeah. But then if the Clippers lose in this first round series to the Suns, do they blow it up? You know what I mean? And then who's there? And then you go out to other places, like who's trading who and what's happening, and your mind just like wanders, so I don't know.
You look at, Damian Lillard's on some stream and he's like, whose games do you like? And it's Mikal Bridges. What do you think Net fans think?
Yeah.
Because Bridges ain't going to Portland.
Dame has also said he loves Immanuel Quickley so many times too.
But you hear that.
You
hear that and you just think to yourself, bring me Dame, get Dame to the Nets, pair him up with Mikal. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's see what happens. Let's have some fun. But would Dame agree to that, something like that, after he's leaving the Blazers? He probably, if he's going to leave the Blazers, he probably wants to go somewhere like Kevin Garnett leaving the Timberwolves. If he's leaving the Timberwolves, he probably wants to go somewhere where he can legitimately win a championship.
Sure.
Not legitimately winning a championship with Mikal Bridges. You'll be good. You'll win 50 games.
You got to make more moves. No, that's not enough. That's not enough.
So we'll see. We're getting ahead of ourselves. It's, the Knicks are 1-1. The Nets are down 0-2. And we'll see what happens this series. I mean, both, the Knicks series is going to go the distance. I thought that the whole time. We'll see what happens at the Garden. I mean, I thought that with the Hawks series, it was 1-1 also. And going to game 3, going to Atlanta, and we're like, all right, take game 3 and we'll see what happens. And they got punched in the mouth and they never won again. Yeah. So hopefully that's not going to happen now. If the Knicks lose the next 3, I think that there can be a lot of changes with the Knicks, because then
I don't think that's happening.
I don't think it's happening either, but imagine if the Knicks lose the next 3 games, what happens with Thibs and Randle and all these players and RJ Barrett? It could be a lot of things can happen, because remember I was saying 2 weeks ago, all the good vibes we were feeling with Knicks fans going into the playoffs. Fast forward 2 weeks, if the Knicks get stomped out in the first round in 5 or 6 and they don't show up, ooh, man, the good vibes are gone. You'll see what happens after game 2. The Knicks lost and got blown out. The good vibes are gone, man. Everybody's nervous now. It went from we're going to sweep to holy shit. This is going to be scary. So
it's playoff basketball, man.
It is.
Every game feels like that. The next game doesn't. If every game feels like, well, that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. The Knicks can't lose a game.
Yeah.
Oh no, the Cavs now easily can go into the Garden and win. But it's funny because when you go make your predictions before this, the series, and you say Knicks in 6, well, the Knicks had to lose 2 to get to 6. That was simply a spot to be at for 1. But after 1 game, I like I said when we started this show, well, that's just overreactionness of feeling those vibes. Which is why, when I look back at that Net Buck series from a couple of years ago, and it's every game is so important. That's why I was so pissed after that game 3 loss that they blew, because you just know, kind of like add up. That's why I always say a series doesn't start not until the road team wins. That's ridiculous. You got to get to 7. Yeah. The Cavs had to get to get 1. Now it's 1-1, and now it's a best of 5, and the Knicks have the home court. That's what the series is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I'm just looking up some quotes from last night. RJ Barrett, this is from Fred Katz. RJ Barrett was all praise for the Cavs when asked about the Knicks' turnovers. They picked up their ball pressure. They were there on our little dump offs that we normally were making. Credit to them. They played a great defensive game. Yeah, listen, there's nothing you could say, when you get blown out like that. You just got to tip your cap and be like, all right, well, you know what? We'll get them next time. And, it is what it is. I mean, we're repeating ourselves right now.
Yeah, and the Knicks scoring is something to keep an eye on. Their defense has been good enough. Although they got trash from three. Garland was awesome, but that's what good players do. They make shots. They made shots. The Nets need to make shots in game number 3 if they want to have any chance versus the Philadelphia 76ers. That game is on Thursday night with the Knicks playing on Friday night. So as we stand here right now on Wednesday morning, as this podcast will go live shortly, Knicks tied in the series 1-1, while the Nets are down 2-0 to the 76ers. Nets play Thursday. Knicks play Friday night. One last thought, and then we'll roll past it, but it's a big topic, so I'm curious to get your thoughts on it. Draymond Green suspended for game number 3. I personally think it's an overreaction. I didn't like the fact that Sabonis did have his leg to start, so I'm not saying it was a good move from Green to then further the action with the stomp. Obviously, you can't do that, but I think Draymond's history hurt him here. And I didn't like how Sabonis did have his foot, so he sort of was part of the instigation, and that bothered me too. And I don't like how the league took him out for game 3.
Yeah, but this keeps happening with Draymond Green.
Sure.
This is not an isolated, even in this series where, game 1, there was a famous play where they're boxing out with Sabonis and Draymond's boxing him out. And then Sabonis falls and Draymond just like kind of sits on his chest and like shoves his ass in his face. And it's just like, what are you doing? And Sabonis has his arms up like, dude, like get off of me. He's been picking on him this whole series. They decided they're going to pick on Sabonis, and Sabonis is not playing around. He's giving it back. His dad was a pro, and he knows the game, man. He's not going to take it personally. That's the wrong guy to pick on, and he's giving it back. And it's just like LeBron in the finals where, he taunted Draymond and got in his face and poked at him, and Draymond hit him in the nuts and he got suspended. This is just this is who Draymond is.
Of course.
And Draymond is, he's kicked the guys in the nuts. He's done all this stuff. It's always somebody else's fault with Draymond Green, and he keeps costing the Warriors games, and he may be screwing them again. And I get he's the heart and soul of that team, and he makes them gives them toughness where there usually would probably be a soft team. But at the end of the day, when does toughness become reckless? And it's always for Draymond, and you can't stomp on somebody's open chest. You're gonna get suspended. I don't care if he's grabbing your foot. The punishment is not worth the crime. It is what it is. And you can't allow a player to stomp on a guy's chest just because he's very important to the team. You have to draw the line somewhere,
Yeah, no, I get you. I think in the moment of playoff basketball and somebody's holding you down, I don't think what Draymond did was right. But I think in the moment of that, I see where his emotions got the best of him. And if I was the league, I know there was a lot of other things happening there. Draymond with the crowd, Adam Silver's at that game. All this played into it, which it didn't help. I love what Charles Barkley had said, though, which I think was great. He was like, I don't like all this Draymond stuff because it's hiding the fact that the Kings are just beating the shit out of the Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And this has now become the bigger story.
Mm-hmm.
For it's like the perfect setup for a national talk show, and you have your view and you can go with it and anybody can talk about it. But he's right in the idea that it's taken away from just how great the Kings, their fans, and everything has been, because it's been so long since Sacramento's played playoff basketball and been relevant, that it takes away from that. You'd expect the Warriors to come home just like kind of the Knicks let down in game 2. I would think there'll be something similar, especially how great the crowd is in Golden State. I personally want to see Golden State win the next 2 games because I want to see this series extended, and I want to see these 2 teams go back and forth. And I'd love game 7 in Sacramento. But this to me is the series so far in the playoffs. It's been fun, but like Barkley said, it's kind of a shame because it's taken away from that part of it.
But that's by design. That Draymond's doing that by design. He's trying to get the attention off of the Kings because the Kings are not afraid of the Warriors.
No.
And, I said this on Twitter, so I'm not just saying this after the fact, at Nick Central, if you don't know. that the Kings are not the Kings are not some inexperienced team. Just because the franchise hasn't been to the playoffs since Ron Artest and Kevin Martin doesn't mean that they are some inexperienced bunch. They have a coach that's been to the finals. They have Dellavedova on the bench who's won a championship. They have Alex Len who's been to the playoffs. Sabonis. They have Kevin Huerter. They have all of these guys who have been there before, and Harrison Barnes. It's just this is not some team that's and De'Aaron Fox is a superstar, and it's just. This is not a team that's going to be afraid, and they have the home court advantage. Like, why, it's just names. The reason why people are picking the Warriors, the reason why the Kings weren't favored in this series, it's just the names of the Warriors. They were the 6th seed. The Warriors have been bad most of the season. Right. And Draymond Green knows this and is doing this by design. He's doing what he can to take the attention off the Kings and take the momentum away from them. And in turn, he fucked himself and fucked the Warriors. And it's just... He deserves it. He deserves to be suspended. You can't just because of it. He already gets away with so much in the game of yelling and screaming just because of who he is, kind of like Rasheed Wallace, where you can just yell because that's who they are. Mutombo, too, always complaining about calls, but the officials were like, all right, Mutombo, like, relax. It's unfair, but, this is the human element of the game. So I understand that, but you can't just stomp on someone's chest and expect to play the next game. It is what it is.
No, I get you. I want to see him out there. And I do think, like I said, I think the initial grab of his foot, in emotion, I could get why he did that. I could see myself being, if you're emotional in a moment,
right. Get off me.
You just kind of get the best of it. But like I said, I think if it's not Draymond Green and if it's somebody else, it's not a suspension. And I think history played a part here. And I don't think it should. And that to me is the disappointing part. And I think he's more fun with him in this series. I am curious if Draymond Green will drop a podcast about being suspended.
Sure done 3 of them. Yeah.
Well, he hasn't done one yet. I've been keeping an eye on it. I'm just curious about it.
Yeah.
If he'll do that. But yeah, again, great series. Mike Brown, of course, was an assistant with the Warriors, so he knows that team better than anybody. He was under Steve Kerr for a couple of years during those title runs, so he's seen it all on both ends of it. And credit to the Kings, right? They win 50, whatever they win, whatever 50 games or whatever is around there. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's and the Warriors this season have been so disjointed with Wiggins out, with the injuries. And this goes against what I used to believe in, but I do believe it now. You need to have consistency throughout a regular season to get to the playoffs and have a chance to win a title. If you don't have that, it's really difficult. You need to, and the Kings' ultimate team, they've done that, right? Cavs, Knicks have done that. All the teams in the East in the top 5 have done that. The Nets have not. The Hawks definitely have not.
I agree. And that's why I bet. That's why I bet on the Kings to win the series, and I picked the Kings in 6. So I have 2 bets that are rocking right now and that are looking really good. So, because I knew the Kings were going to come out strong. And another thing, let's talk about Jalen Hurts with his contract extension, because some reason why New York Sports Radio talks about that for some reason. But anyway,
I understand
my mind.
Well, it's a football, man.
I get it.
That's what I always say.
After game 1 of both the Nets and the Knicks and the hockey playoffs are coming, you're gonna start with the Jalen Hurts. Like, that's just what happens when you have somebody from. Never mind. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers is still on the Packers too. What do you think?
I don't want to talk Aaron Rodgers. You have no interest in that.
This podcast is over. Anyway.
This has been Bad Weather Fans, episode 167. Don't forget, we have a new Twitter page at Bad Weather Fans. Get all of our content. I'm at Mike Delivers Pod. We got at Nick Central. We'll continue to talk as these series and playoffs continue to move along. Nets play on Thursday night. Knicks play on Friday night. Don't forget, if you're listening on Apple, to go ahead and give a 5-star rating. Leave your comments. We appreciate them. They make a big difference. Or wherever you're listening to this podcast, go ahead and do that. Help us out. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, check out the video version of the pod, and you can see my cat with his ass in my face, biting my hand. Love nibbles. And
my jersey's in the background. I got Ewing and Mason up today, so I'll try to rotate them every episode. We'll see. I got a bunch of Knicks jerseys, so as you can imagine.
All right, this has been Bad Weather Fans, Ep 167. Alex, we'll talk to you later.